entrepreneur Marcus Williams, aged 42, was discovered deceased at his Atlanta home in January 2019. 3 years later, his wife, Vanessa Williams, was arrested for his murder, unraveling a complex scheme. Marcus, founder of Williams Enterprise Solutions, was found at the foot of the staircase in his Buckhead District Georgian-style mansion. His wife, Vanessa, along with Nate Thompson, 34, made the 911 call after discovering Marcus had become a key figure in Atlanta's business scene since establishing his tech consulting firm in 2005. By 2019, his company had expanded to include significant real estate holdings valued at $145 million and a philanthropic arm, the Williams Foundation, which donated $5 million annually to education initiatives for disadvantaged students in the Atlanta area. His unexpected death shook both the business and charitable communities, where he was deeply involved. Detectives James Morrison and Michael Brooks from the Atlanta Police Department's Homicide Division led the initial investigation. According to the police report, Marcus spent his final evening at the Capital City Club. Toxicology results indicated a blood alcohol level of 0.4%, revealing significant intoxication. The medical examiner, Dr. Robert Patterson, reported multiple blunt force trauma injuries, including a fatal basilar skull fracture, consistent with falling down the stairs. Vanessa, the daughter of retired Georgia Supreme Court Justice Thomas Thompson, appeared visibly distressed during questioning, stating she had been asleep and was awakened by a loud crash. Security system logs supported her claim, recording the front door's activation shortly before she found Marcus. Within weeks, Vanessa gained control of Williams Enterprise Solutions, the foundation, and personal assets totaling $87 million. Marcus's brother Isaiah Williams, a partner at Williams and Mitchell Law Group, voiced concerns over the investigation's swift closure. He noted Marcus's familiarity with his home and careful nature, doubting the plausibility of such an accident. Despite his objections, the police classified the death as accidental, citing no signs of forced entry, struggle, or theft, and functioning security cameras that captured Marcus entering and falling, but left blind spots around the stairwell. Initially, Marcus's death appeared to be a tragic accident involving alcohol. The investigation seemed comprehensive, but with no apparent foul play, the case was closed. However, what seemed like an unfortunate mishap concealed a web of deceit that took years to uncover. In the aftermath, observers noted Vanessa's rapid recovery. Her composed behavior during business dealings and foundation meetings seemed unusual. Marcus's longtime secretary, Barbara Reynolds, reported that Vanessa sought access to company files just 3 days after the funeral. Vanessa's public image shifted from grieving widow to a driven businesswoman as she became active in Atlanta's social scene. Beneath this polished exterior, however, she carried on a secret relationship with Terrence Hall, a 36-year-old hedge fund manager at Atlantic Capital Partners. Vanessa and Terrence rekindled their acquaintance at a September 2018 Emory University alumni event. Though their connection had been casual since their 2007 graduation, the event marked the start of their clandestine relationship. Their affair intensified, masked as professional meetings, facilitated by Terrence's downtown Atlanta office. Investigators later uncovered secure messages between the pair, exposing their growing intimacy and calculated plans. Marcus's demanding work schedule allowed the affair to thrive. He frequently worked 80-hour weeks, often staying at the office until midnight, which strained his marriage. Vanessa and Terrence exploited these circumstances to deepen their bond. Financial documents later revealed Terrence had begun setting up offshore accounts and shell companies well before Marcus's death, paving the way to divert funds from Williams Enterprise Solutions. Vanessa's dissatisfaction with her marriage had been documented during therapy sessions with Dr. Rachel Martinez, starting in July 2018. Vanessa portrayed Marcus as emotionally distant, work-obsessed, and verbally abusive. These claims were later contradicted by household staff. As their plot advanced, Vanessa and Terrence met at luxury Atlanta hotels under the guise of business expenses. Hotel records and security footage from establishments like the Four Seasons revealed the frequency of their encounters. Terrence's involvement extended beyond emotional support. He guided Vanessa in orchestrating scenarios to make Marcus's death appear accidental. Together, they constructed an elaborate conspiracy that took years for investigators to unravel. By December 2018, their plan had become fully developed. Utilizing his expertise in risk assessment and statistics in a surprisingly sinister manner to calculate the most likely accident scenario and the best ways to avoid detection. Email records retrieved years later revealed that Terrence had researched the effects of various blood alcohol levels on coordination and balance. He also collected data on household accidents, especially those involving stairs in homes. This information would later prove vital in making Marcus's death appear as a plausible accident. Following Marcus's death, the affair between Vanessa and Terrence continued in secret. While they kept their distance in public, waiting 6 months before appearing together socially, they still pretended their relationship was purely professional. However, private communications, uncovered later by investigators, revealed the intimacy of their connection and their satisfaction with how their plan had been carried out. On January 15, 2019, events unfolded that would ultimately lead to Marcus's death. It started with a dinner at the Williams home, where Marcus returned early from work, an unusual change from his typical schedule, and confronted Vanessa about suspicious charges on a joint credit card and unexplained absences from charity board meetings. The household staff later testified that the argument escalated quickly, with Marcus expressing increasing concerns about Vanessa's actions in the past few months. During the heated exchange, Marcus revealed that he had hired a private investigator to look into her activities. At that time, Vanessa was unaware of this, but it would later become crucial to understanding the timing of his death. The argument reached its peak when Marcus threatened to contact his lawyers about potential divorce proceedings. According to Maria Ramirez, the housekeeper, Marcus stormed out of the house around 8:30 p.m., leaving in his black Mercedes S-Class. Surveillance footage from the Capital City Club showed Marcus arriving at 9:15 p.m. Over the next few hours, he drank heavily, consuming mostly single malt scotch, his drink of choice. The club's bartender, David Mitchell, later testified that Marcus appeared unusually agitated and drank more than he typically did. Mitchell also mentioned that Marcus received several text messages that seemed to upset him. Meanwhile, Vanessa's actions during this time came under scrutiny. She made several phone calls from the house line, including a 23-minute conversation with Terrence Hall, which she later claimed was about business. Vanessa also spent significant time in Marcus's home office, though security footage could not capture her exact activities. Around midnight, she instructed the house staff to leave for the evening, which was odd considering that Marcus had not returned home yet. She then began preparing the scene. Security footage later showed her placing Marcus's car keys on a hallway table, adjusting the lighting to cast shadows on the stairs, and most importantly, subtly shifting one of the oriental rugs on the staircase, a detail that would only raise suspicions years later. Marcus returned home shortly after 2:30 a.m., heavily intoxicated. The home security system recorded his arrival, showing him stumbling slightly as he entered. What transpired in the next few moments would later be the subject of intense investigation. The only camera with a partial view of the stairs captured Marcus approaching them, followed by a sudden movement and the sound of his fall. Vanessa's 911 call came about 4 minutes after Marcus's fall. The recording captured her seemingly distraught voice as she reported that her husband had fallen down the stairs. Emergency responders arrived within 8 minutes and found Marcus unresponsive at the bottom of the staircase. While the positioning of his body initially seemed to fit the fall scenario, it would later raise questions among forensic experts. Paramedics noted the strong smell of alcohol on Marcus and observed Vanessa's convincing display of distress, but there was nothing immediately suspicious. Marcus was pronounced dead at 3:17 a.m. The initial police response, led by Detective Morrison, focused on documenting the scene and gathering basic statements. Vanessa's portrayal as the grieving widow was flawless. Her tears, confusion, and shock appeared genuine to everyone present. Dr. Patterson, the medical examiner, arrived at 4:45 a.m. and noted multiple impact injuries consistent with a fall, including the fatal basilar skull fracture. The positioning of bruises and abrasions initially supported the theory of an accident, but a later review of the autopsy photos would suggest discrepancies with a typical falling pattern. In the immediate aftermath, Vanessa maintained her composure while appropriately displaying grief, cooperating fully with the police investigation, and offering detailed accounts of the evening that aligned with the available evidence. Her background as the daughter of a judge proved helpful. She knew how to interact with law enforcement to avoid raising suspicion. Within days of Marcus's death, Vanessa began the process of claiming her inheritance, demonstrating an efficiency that some would later find suspicious. Her father's legal connections helped expedite the process, and within weeks, she had gained full control of Marcus's estate, valued at over $200 million. Including all business assets and properties. By January 2022, 3 years after Marcus's death, after Marcus Williams's death, his brother Isaiah compiled a significant collection of evidence indicating possible foul play. Working late from his office at Williams and Mitchell, Isaiah spent his evenings reviewing old case files, financial documents, and speaking with people connected to Marcus's life. His investigation gained momentum when he found Marcus's personal journal in a safety deposit box, which contained detailed notes about his concerns regarding Vanessa's actions. The breakthrough came when Isaiah connected with Marcus's former executive assistant, Barbara Reynolds, who had been quietly collecting information since her termination by Vanessa in February 2019. Reynolds gave Isaiah a copy of Marcus's private calendar, revealing regular appointments with Dr. Thomas Bennett, a well-known psychiatrist in Atlanta, in the months leading up to his death. These sessions, previously unknown to investigators, became vital in understanding Marcus's state of mind. Dr. Bennett, bound by patient confidentiality, initially refused to discuss Marcus's case. However, when presented with a court order obtained through Isaiah's legal connections, he revealed troubling details. During their sessions, Marcus had expressed growing concerns about large financial discrepancies in both his personal and business accounts. He also mentioned hiring a private investigator Michael Dawson, to track Vanessa's movements. Dawson's surveillance reports, recovered from his archived files, documented several meetings between Vanessa and Terrence Hall at various hotels around Atlanta in late 2018. The reports included time-stamped photographs, videos, and detailed accounts of their interactions. More significantly, Dawson traced wire transfers from offshore accounts linked to Hall's financial firm into a shell company registered under Vanessa's maiden name. The investigation took a further turn when Isaiah found Maria Ramirez, the former housekeeper for the Williams family, who had moved to Miami shortly after Marcus's death. Ramirez provided a sworn statement about the events she witnessed on the night of Marcus's death, including previously unreported details of Vanessa's actions before and after the incident. Her testimony contradicted several key points in Vanessa's original statement to the police. Further examination of Marcus's autopsy photos by Dr. James Morton, a forensic pathologist who specialized in fall injuries, raised serious doubts about the initial medical conclusions. Dr. Morton noted that the pattern of injuries on Marcus's body did not align with a typical fall downstairs. Specifically, the positioning of the bruises and the angle of the fatal skull fractures suggested that his fall trajectory might have been altered. By March 2022, Isaiah had gathered enough evidence to formally request that Detective Morrison reopen the case. His presentation included Dr. Bennett's sealed therapy records, private investigator Dawson's surveillance documentation, forensic accounting reports showing systematic fund diversion, Maria Ramirez's sworn statement, Dr. Morton's analysis of the injury patterns, and technical analysis of security system anomalies. The most compelling evidence came from Marcus's private journal, which detailed his growing suspicions and his plans to confront Vanessa about her infidelity and financial misconduct. The final entry, dated January 14, 2019, indicated his intention to meet with divorce attorneys and start proceedings to protect his assets. These revelations, combined with Vanessa's suspicious behavior following Marcus's death, led the Atlanta Police Department to reopen the investigation. Detective Morrison, now personally invested in correcting the oversight of the initial investigation, assigned a new team to re-examine all the evidence, both new and old. On March 4th, 2022, at precisely 7:15 a.m., a team of Atlanta police officers, led by Detective James Morrison and Detective Lisa Harris, arrived at the Sovereign Building in downtown Atlanta. Vanessa Williams was taken into custody at her luxury penthouse condominium. The arrest of one of Atlanta's most prominent socialites and business figures sent shockwaves through the city's elite social circles. The arrest warrant listed multiple charges: first-degree murder, criminal conspiracy, financial fraud, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. During the arrest, Vanessa maintained the composed demeanor that had characterized her public appearances since Marcus's death. She was dressed in designer clothing and appeared to be preparing for a business meeting when the officers arrived. Her only response to the arrest was a request to contact her lawyer, the prominent defense attorney Richard Sterling. The interrogation, conducted at the Atlanta Police Department headquarters, lasted over 6 hours. Detective Harris noted Vanessa's unusual calmness throughout the questioning. Unlike most suspects facing similar charges, she showed no signs of distress or anxiety. Instead, she systematically denied each accusation, maintaining the story of Marcus's accidental death that she had crafted 3 years earlier. During the interrogation, detectives presented their amassed evidence. Security footage from the Williams residence, enhanced using advanced digital techniques, revealed Vanessa's careful manipulation of the crime scene prior to Marcus's death was revealed through footage that showed her adjusting the staircase rug, modifying light fixtures, and strategically repositioning security cameras in the days before the incident. The investigation team presented crucial evidence from Marcus's private investigator, Michael Dawson, which included photographs and surveillance reports documenting Vanessa's meetings with Terrence Hall. Hotel records, credit card statements, and phone logs were used to build a comprehensive timeline of their relationship and conspiracy. The evidence revealed frequent meetings at high-end hotels, often coinciding with suspicious financial transactions. Perhaps most damaging was the recovery of deleted text messages between Vanessa and Terrence, which forensic technicians retrieved from a cloud backup. These messages contained coded references to their plans for eliminating Marcus, with clear evidence of premeditation despite the avoidance of direct statements. On the same morning as Vanessa's arrest, another police team apprehended Terrence Hall at his office in the financial district. His arrest immediately rocked the financial markets as news spread of his involvement in the conspiracy. His employer, Atlantic Capital Partners, quickly distanced themselves from him by freezing his accounts and conducting an internal audit. The interrogation of Terrence Hall proved more revealing than Vanessa's, as he began to crack under pressure, divulging details about their relationship and the elaborate planning behind Marcus's murder. His statement provided vital information about the financial aspects of their conspiracy, including previously unknown accounts and transactions. The evidence presented during the arrests was extensive enough to deny bail to both suspects. The judge, citing the complexity of the crime and the defendant's significant financial resources, deemed them a flight risk. Vanessa Williams, who had lived as one of Atlanta's elite for the past 3 years, was transferred to the county jail to await trial alongside other criminals. Her trial began on September 12, 2022, at the Fulton County Superior Court, overseen by Judge Michael Blackwood. The highly publicized case attracted national media attention, with major networks broadcasting daily proceedings. The courthouse was regularly filled to capacity with observers and reporters, documenting every aspect of the sensational trial, which lasted 8 weeks. District Attorney Sarah Montgomery led the prosecution, presenting a carefully organized case that outlined the evolution of the conspiracy. The prosecution's opening statement vividly depicted how Vanessa Williams had meticulously planned her husband's murder while maintaining a facade of marital devotion. The evidence presentation began with testimony from financial experts who explained the complex web of transactions linking Vanessa and Terrence Hall. Terrence, who had agreed to testify against Vanessa in exchange for a reduced sentence, provided damaging testimony during the trial's second week. He detailed their affair and the gradual development of their murder plot. His testimony revealed how they studied patterns of household accidents, specifically focusing on falls downstairs to make Marcus's death appear accidental. Terrence's testimony also exposed their elaborate financial scheme to transfer millions of dollars through offshore accounts. The prosecution called 47 witnesses over the 6 weeks, with key testimony coming from Maria Ramirez, the former housekeeper, who described Vanessa's suspicious behavior the night of Marcus's death. Dr. James Morton, the forensic pathologist, presented compelling evidence that Marcus's injuries did not match the pattern of an accidental fall. Technical experts demonstrated how security cameras had been repositioned to create blind spots around the staircase. Isaiah Williams's testimony proved particularly powerful, as he spoke for nearly 6 hours about his brother's growing suspicions and fears in the months leading to his death. Isaiah presented personal correspondence between himself and Marcus, including text messages where Marcus expressed concern about large withdrawals from his accounts and Vanessa's unexplained absences. His testimony humanized Marcus, moving several jurors to tears as he spoke of his brother's commitment to his business, charitable work, and marriage. Defense attorney Richard Sterling tried to portray Vanessa as a victim of emotional neglect, suggesting her actions were driven by desperation rather than malice. The defense called character witnesses who testified about Marcus's workaholic tendencies and emotional distance, arguing that Vanessa's financial activities were legitimate and that her relationship with Terrence Hall began only after Marcus's death. The defense's strategy faltered when prosecutors introduced Marcus's therapy records, which documented his efforts to save the marriage and his increasing awareness of Vanessa's deception. Dr. Thomas Bennett's testimony revealed that Marcus had been actively working to improve his relationship with Vanessa, directly contradicting the defense's narrative of neglect. After 7 weeks of testimony, closing arguments began. The prosecution's final statement methodically reviewed the evidence, including financial records showing premeditated theft, surveillance footage showing careful crime scene manipulation, witness testimony confirming the affair and conspiracy, and forensic evidence proving Marcus's death was no accident. The jury deliberated for only 14 hours before delivering their verdict. On November 4th, 2022, Vanessa Williams was found guilty on all counts: first-degree murder, criminal conspiracy, multiple counts of financial fraud, and obstruction of justice. She remained stoic as the verdict was read, maintaining the same composed demeanor she had shown throughout the trial. The verdict brought a sense of closure to Marcus's family and friends. Isaiah Williams assumed control of his brother's business empire, implementing changes that honored Marcus's philanthropic vision